I've enjoyed everything about my Jetson Bolt Pro. It's a nice little e-bike with simple and limited features that fit my needs just fine. One thing that's bothered me though is how dim the headlight is. It does provide some lighting, but I feel it needs to be a little brighter for safety's sake. See what I do to hopefully find a possible replacement next. I want to dismantle the headlight to see what kinds of parts make up the original one. Move the tire out of the way and remove the single screw at the bottom with a small crosspoint screwdriver. I didn't do it this way, but I think the easiest way to get the headlight out of the housing is to pull it out by sticking a piece of tape to it. Once it's out, there's just the power supply wire that runs into the frame. There's two crosspoint screws holding the headlight housing to the frame. I had some trouble getting the screwdriver to seat correctly in the screw, so be careful you don't strip it. Remove those screws and the housing will dangle free from the frame, still hanging from the electrical wiring. There's a white safety clip that has to be removed from the wiring. Slide it off the thicker part of the wiring, then fit the wiring connector through the opening in the clip. The opening in the clip should be just big enough to push the connector through it. With the white clip off, you can remove the housing, leaving just the wiring protruding from the frame. The case that holds the headlight and electronics looks pretty simple. The case is made up of just the clear front half and black plastic rear. There's 4 screws holding the two halves together. Once removed, the halves can be separated. The clear half of the case doesn't have anything else attached to it, but it does have a section molded into it that is meant to focus the LED light into a beam. The rear half of the case contains a circuit board with the LED light soldered directly onto it. I'm not sure why there's so much electrical circuitry for just a light, but one thing I want to do is measure the voltage right where it enters the case, as well as the voltage at those two terminals on either side of the LED. To measure the voltage coming from the power source, I took the measurement from the wire protruding from the frame. This is the easiest point to get a clean measurement of the source voltage since it hasn't been affected yet by the electronics of the headlight. Measuring the voltage at the LED was a little tough because trying to see the poles while the light is on is blinding. I had to stick a piece of electrical tape over the LED before I was able to find the poles with my multimeter probes. I'm not familiar with the details of electronic circuitry, so I'm already at a loss as to how 41 volts is sent to the headlight, but by the time that power goes to the LED light, it's only 3 volts. If it's easy enough to get 9 volts, I have a light in mind I'd like to use. I'll have to fabricate a new headlight housing, but I don't think that'll be too hard to do. Starting on the headlight, I already have some maglite bulbs from previous videos that I hope to recycle for this project. I'm favoring the higher powered bulb on the left. An interesting feature of this bulb is that at max power it pulls 8 amps. In that mode, running on the stock Jetson Bolt Pro battery, this bulb would drain the 6 amp hour battery in 45 minutes. That's just the bulb while the motor is not doing anything. There are low power modes for this bulb, which I'll probably have to use, so power drain is not too much of an issue. Another nice feature of this bulb is that it's a standard sized maglite replacement, which makes it easy to find another bulb if this one doesn't work out for me. The PVC flashlight this bulb came from wasn't a snug fit around the bulb, so I test fitted other sizes of PVC, hoping I could find a size that was a tighter fit. This 1.5 inch PVC T holds the bulb so perfectly that if I press it all the way in, the bulb actually wedges itself in the joint in the same way a PVC pipe would. This is great because with this being a joint, I really don't have to fabricate a headlight housing anymore. Once I know what the electronics will look like, I can then select any PVC joint that has enough space inside of it to hold all the electronics. I finished cutting the headlight housing parts to size and they're ready for assembly. The assembly process is pretty simple. Everything goes together in the same order you see it here laid out on the table. The connecting side of each T that will be connected using the short PVC pipe has been cut shorter so the housing will not stick out too far from the frame. About 3/8 inch has been removed from each connecting side and the PVC pipe has been cut as short as possible so both T's will be almost touching. Number 6 by 1/2 inch screws will secure each connection of the T's and also the retainer ring that will hold the light bulb within the T. This was my original idea for the headlight housing. After separately testing the bulb I plan to use, I realized I can't have a bulb that powerful pointing straight out like it would with this housing. I decided to angle it downward 45 degrees for safety. You'll see why this is still okay in a little bit. I created this set of parts, which is for the electrical wiring that powers the headlight. The wood piece is meant to attach to the bulb and hold the wiring in place. I wish I could have 3D printed it, but wood is the only non-conductive material I have access to for creating parts. I'll demonstrate the assembly of the wiring in this time-lapse. Basically, the positive lead must be touching the half dome in the center of the bulb, and the negative lead can be touching anywhere along the side. I can test the wiring using the battery compartment of the PVC DIY flashlight I removed the bulb from. It holds 6 D-cell batteries for a total of 9 volts at 10 amps. This is what the stock headlight looks like on the Jetson, and in a test of this headlight under slightly dim conditions, this is what the brightness and spread of the beam looks like. The headlight is about 20 feet away from the wall of the shack. It's an okay headlight, but it's also the reason why I'm wanting something better. This is my new Maglite-powered PVC headlight enclosure mounted on the Jetson. Testing this headlight under the same conditions as the stock headlight, you can see the brightness and spread of the beam is substantial, and the reason why I decided to angle the light towards the ground. In everyday use, a light this bright isn't necessary, so I'll probably have it dialed down most of the time. To better see the difference between the stock and upgraded headlights, here's the side-by-side comparison. A benefit of using a flashlight bulb as a headlight is its ability to be configured to many different light intensities. This particular bulb can be configured to 24 different mode groups using the instructions at the bottom. Right now, I have my bulb set to mode group number 12, where it initially turns on at ML, which is a glowing light that does not produce a beam of light. Quickly turning the light off, then on switches the intensity of the light to the next percentage in the cycle, in this case 2%. Repeating the on-off steps can also cycle through 25% and 100%. The memory designation simply means the bulb remembers the last intensity used before powered off and will power on at that intensity. I was curious to know how much current this bulb actually draws since the documentation stated 8 amps. Since the multimeter I have can't measure DC current, my only option is this USB voltmeter that I use when working on phones. The meter's shutting on and off because the bulb needs to be powered off and on to change light intensity. In turn, you see the amp reading changing. It's easier if I list the meter readings on the screen. 2 amps at 100% light intensity is nice to know and a lot different from the documentation. If you're interested in picking up one of these USB voltmeters, I got mine from Amazon. This is the instructions for the one I have, but it might help you find the same one or one that you like better. As a small side project, I made this 9-volt battery pack using 3/4-inch PVC pipe. It holds 3 CR123A batteries in series to create 9.9 volts. It's a nice little package that might be useful for low power use. I probably can't run my headlight at 100% intensity for very long, but it should keep the lights on for a reasonable amount of time at 25% intensity. So, this is my new multi-stage headlight. I still need to add an on-off switch and decide on a battery pack, but with the headlight wires running external to the headlight, that shouldn't be hard to add on later. Leave your questions and comments in the comment section below. That's all I have for now, and I'll catch you in the next video.